Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 177th episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Woods? Another week. Hope you're doing well. It's another rainy day in Sydney, which is something we seem to have been saying quite often these days. But yeah, looking forward to kick it with you.
Yeah, definitely, man. I got a trip over to the Western State tomorrow, so I'm going to see our
friends. The weather will be better
Hopefully
there.
The weather's better there, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it will be.
All right, so why don't you take things away?
Sweet as. So doing that thing I love doing and showing a random jersey. So another one that I've had for ages, got out of the cupboard today, realised it still had the tag on it, so it's never been worn. I'll stand up and show you the one I'm rocking today.
And for all our audio listeners that can't see, Robbie's wearing the Sacramento Kings 34 Jason Thompson jersey. Wow, what a legend.
No, a lot of people rocking Jason Thompson jerseys. No.
Yeah, and his career just faded out very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah. He was someone I always liked, but this fits the bill right for a total random jersey. Yeah, like I don't know where I got this one, but yeah, I like the old Adidas. I like the look on this one as well. So a little bit on Jason Thompson. So it's his white Adidas Sacramento Kings jersey. Certainly a random one. He played 8 seasons in the NBA, so only 8 seasons, Woods, after getting drafted out of Ryder by the Kings at pick 12 in the 2008 draft. So this is a draft I spoke about maybe a month or so ago when I wore a Danilo Gallinari jersey there. So Thompson played with the Kings. Do you remember who the other 2 teams he played were as well?
Warriors and Raptors, maybe?
Yep, correct. Well done. So the Raptors is where he finished his career in 2016, which incidentally was the first time he'd ever played in the playoffs. That was his last season, season 8, that it was his first time in the playoffs. After leaving the NBA, he had several more years playing overseas. So he played in China, he played in Turkey, and he played in Spain before officially hanging up the boots in 2022. So the 6'11" big man, look, he doesn't have any accolades to speak of there, Woods, but he was a handy bench player throughout his career. So career averages of 8.9 points and 6.6 boards. So, not bad stats there. Fun fact on Thompson. So he only made 6 3-pointers in his 588-game career, and 5 of those were in his last season. So that just shows you how the game sort of changed a little bit there. So 5 of his 6 were in his very last season. So still only 38 years of age. So he's not that old still. He's an assistant coach in the NBA G League with the Soyuz Falls Skyforce. And yeah, that's a bit of a flashback on Jason Thompson. So what were your memories on him?
I remember, I think it was his second season. He was putting up like 12 and 8, 12 and 10. Like, and you were thinking this guy's a future all-star, right? But just never eventuated. But, you thought his ceiling was a lot higher than it actually ended up being, right? So
that was a good get, you remembering he played for the Raptors. Because I remember he went to Golden State after Sacramento, but man, the Raptors, that's a bit of a deep cut there.
I'm pretty sure that was a mid-season move, or the trade deadline it could have been, or something. He played in the Warriors and the Raptors in the same season, didn't he?
Yeah, I'd have to fact check that one. So,
I think he might have, yeah.
Yeah, nice. So, yeah, a bit of a trip down memory lane with a Jason Thompson Sacramento Kings jersey. So, do you want me to go straight into card of the week? Or?
Absolutely.
Sweet. How's our reception looking, Woods? Because you're looking fuzzy on my screen. Am I looking okay from your end?
All good.
All right. All good. Well, card of the week, you're obviously wearing a jersey of this team. We are doing an Adelaide 36ers preview today. So, I thought it was fitting I'd show a card of one of their absolute GOATs, right? So someone I know you love, Woods. It's a 2023 NBL Topps Chrome Legends Auto card. It's number 43 of 99, and it is none other than the chairman of the boards, Mark Davis. Look how nice that card is there, Woods.
Awesome, man. I nearly wore that jersey today.
I was actually thinking you might. Yeah, nice. And I'll still read the quick spiel on the back of this because I like this. So it says, known as the chairman of the boards for his dominant rebounding, Davis powered the 36ers into an NBL force, especially in 1986, as one of the most dominant teams ever. He won the grand final MVP that season in Adelaide's first championship. He was also MVP of the 36ers for 9 straight seasons, as well as league MVP in 1987. Was named to the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2006. So what a beautiful looking card. I love these. There's only 99 of them. I've got a few of these. I think there's about 10 in the set. I think I've got 4 or 5, but they're pretty hard to get some of these. I don't have the Ricky Grace one of these, Woods. It just never comes up. And if it does come up, you're talking $400 or $500. Same with Andrew gaze. And yeah, definitely not spending anywhere near that. This is a pretty good price, this one. But what a lovely card, right? The chairman of the boards. Would you say he is the Adelaide GOAT? You'd have to be, right?
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, Brett Maher.
Yeah, it's certainly
You say
in the
Brett Maher,
conversation.
Brett Maher, probably. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got his name on the floor, right? So.
He does, but 9 straight team MVPs is pretty decent as well, right?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, let's take it from the Adelaide 36ers card to an Adelaide 36ers jersey. Who are you rocking today?
Cool, man. Let me just stand up.
Woods are standing up, rocking the number 13 Adelaide 36ers Darnell Me jersey.
And I have wanted before. I think when we had Adam Ballinger on the show,
You're doing a few double ups lately. You've been a bit cheeky with your jerseys.
I have. But what? There's a reason behind it. I don't have any more Adelaide jerseys. I've worn them all, but I still wanted to wear this today.
Yeah.
And rather than speak about the player, I wanted to speak about, and you mentioned Mark Davis, right? Darnell Me. You talk about one of the most knowledgeable crowds in the league. The Adelaide fans not only know about their players, they know about the opposition players coming in.
Yeah.
When their team's winning or losing, they're still selling out their stadium. They've got a rich history, some great players. I mean, how exciting is it for them? I know we're going to talk about the Adelaide team and break that down a little bit later in the show. But what about the fans, the ex-players, the community over there, the buzz around Adelaide? They must be really excited with what the front office has done this season, right? Yeah.
So, Woods, are you saying their crowd, that they don't react if there's a shot taken 5 seconds after a foul's been called, like it counts, like a certain crowd that we sometimes sit and watch together?
I mean, you said that, not me, but yeah.
Well, you're
exactly.
nodding and smiling.
Right?
But yeah, look, agreed. I mean, they've been selling out, crowds even before. They've signed all these great players this year. So, man, that is going to be a hot ticket in Adelaide this year, isn't it? That really is going to be a hot ticket there to see some of these guns. And look, I think they're in for some really good basketball. Looking forward to obviously talking about them in the preview there. But yeah, they're someone that's always been a knowledgeable crowd. It's always been that way since the 80s when I started following the game there, and it's never sort of changed. They've obviously had some tough years, I'd say. Sort of, they haven't really been competing. Although they didn't even 5 or 6 years ago, they were right up near the top, and they kind of just dropped down a little bit there. But I think they're going to be up near the top this year, let's say.
Yeah, the last time was when Childress got injured in that game 5. Remember, they went all the way to the finals under Joey Wright, yeah?
Yeah, maybe 2018, 19.
Yeah, it would have been a while ago now, right?
Yeah. Nice jersey too, by the way.
But yeah, and I hope to see some of these. I think we might have seen a couple of seasons ago at Heritage Week this jersey exactly come out a few years ago. So it'll be nice to see some Adelaide Heritage jerseys come out, and also to see some of the legends, the Mark Davises, the Brett Mahers, the Scott Ninnises, everything that's happened in the past. Hopefully it's water off a duck's back now, and we see a lot of these guys sitting there in the front supporting this Adelaide team.
Yeah, you'd like to see Scott Ninnis back in the fold, wouldn't you? I know I think he's coaching the Lightning, isn't he? The FIBA women's team. So. Yeah, I think it's everyone's going to want a ticket, whether it's an ex-player, a fan, anything else like that. So, nice jersey. You've got to love Darnell Me as well, right?
Absolutely, man. If not the greatest, one of the 2 greatest defensive players to play in the league, right?
Let's say one of the 3, and then we'll have Simon Dwight there as well.
For sure, man. Let's go with that.
We know Marto's the best.
For sure. I mean, the trophy is named after him, right?
Of course.
All right. So let's kick things off slightly differently today. I mean, NBL1 finals have finished, and really exciting weekend. Even I got to tune in. So yeah, man, break it down for us to talk us a little bit about.
I've done a lot of research, Woods. So I've got to say, I tried to watch as many games as I could. There was a few that were clashing. One had finished on KO, and I flick over to the other and sort of go through those. So I want to try and go through each conference. With the one team that hasn't finished yet is the NBL1 West. So the teams in West Australia, they have their finals this coming weekend now. So at the time of recording, Monday, the 18th of August. So I'm going to start off just randomly, Woods, but with the NBL1 South, right? So that finished over the weekend. Got to watch the whole of this men's game. So in that men's game, we saw Sandringham versus Melbourne. So it was 5th versus 6th on the ladder, and Sandringham Sabres overcame an early 17-point deficit to win 99-80. So turned a 17-point deficit into a 19-point win. There was a lot of current and ex-NBL players on show in this game, Woods. Melbourne United DP Tom Coppins leading the way for Sandringham. He was huge, 25, 14 and 4. And he looked really good. He had some real strong drives to the basket and strong finishes. So, yeah, as I said, he was grand final MVP. For Melbourne, they had the GOAT, Andrew Gaze, return home early just because they were in this final there from Saudi Arabia. He wasn't commentating the final games in that. And look, as I said, they started off great with that 17-point lead. they were really well supported by three recent NBL signees. So Harry Froling, Jack Purchase, and Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson's someone that I think is a name to look out for this year. Obviously, we know he's been a great player in the past, went over and played AFL, and now he's back in the NBL team. So someone to look out for. But yeah, shout out to Sandringham winning the men's title there. In the women's, we had a real shock in this one. So it was undefeated Geelong losing big time by 84 to 64. So Geelong were looking to have the perfect season, undefeated season, and they lost in the big game. So Knox obviously were amazing as well. They came in on a 13-game win streak. So it was about as good a form that two teams could be in as you'd ever see. And yeah, Knox Raiders were led by MVP, grand final MVP Paige Bradley, who finished with 15 points. And I've got to say, looking ahead to the NBL1 Nationals in a couple of weeks, which we will talk about at the end of the month, I'd say Knox women's team would be my favourite to win that. So that's the NBL1 South. NBL1 East. Let's talk about my favourite conference, sure. Right? So maybe I'll start with the women's game in that one. So look, it wasn't a great game, unfortunately. So it was Manly Warringah versus the Young Guns from COE. So first on the ladder versus fifth. This one was a blowout early, with the experience of Manly shining through an 89-61 win. American Taylor Wirtz leading the way, as she always does, with 25, 6 and 4 on her way to finals MVP. She was well supported by veteran Alex Delaney with 18 and youngster Zoe Miller with 17. For COE, look, it really was a tough game for them. They've shown this season how much talent they have there. But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be. A little critical call out, if I want to be honest, in this one. Really bad body language from COE. I've talked about Satya Fagan, how much I love, the look of her. She had really bad body language. Even watching it with my mum and dad, and they were like, "Wow, look at that!" Sort of thing. And just in the timeout, it's really head down, not in sort of engaging her teammates. And look, youngsters do that, maturity. Right? That whole team is 16 and 17, so some maturity will come out there. But a massive shout out for Manly Warringah, though, the women's. It was their first NBL1 East title. They have made a final before. In all 4 years that this comp's been going, they've been one of the top teams. So, yeah, they were really happy to sort of win that one. So that's the women's. And in the men's competition, Woods, I know you're going to give your thoughts on this. What a cracker of a game. This is my favourite of the games, and not being a homer there because I cover the East, but we saw Illawarra take on Canberra. So this was first versus third on the ladder, but both teams had identical 15-5 records. Just an amazing game. Canberra running out 99-91 winners to earn their second NBL1 East title, and they eased some of the pain of last season's loss to Maitland. So for Canberra, Derek Emila Fonwu led the way with 28. He was named grand final MVP. My main man, Glenn Morrison, was huge throughout, 28 and 14. Love the way that guy plays. And James Toohey, brother, of course, of Alex Toohey in the NBA, hit some clutch shots to end with 12. And for the runners-up, of course, it was Todd Blanchfield, just huge all night with 29. He was also well supported by Kobe McDowell-White on 18. Lockie Dent, I know impressed you. And CJ Moran, who just returned from Syria in the FIBA Asia Cup there, had 15. So, yeah, really big win for Canberra. You can see how happy they were to win that one. Like I said with Manly, they've just been one of the top teams in all 4 years I've covered it. And, they don't go ahead with the real, flashy signings. And, the Americans, they've got some great players in, Mayfield and Glenn Morrison are about as two good players you could see. For those Illawarra guys, Woods, they couldn't quite do the doubles. Todd Blanchfield, McDowell-White, they couldn't do the NBL and NBL1 double, which, would have been pretty cool to have. But give me some thoughts. I know you you watched this game and you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, I just think the quality of the NBL1 is on show here. What a great product it is. You're seeing some guys on the fringe, some guys who've been in the NBL before, going back and forth. I mean, Illawarra were paying $1.40 to start that game, right? The favorites, I think. They missed a few guys, right? Some of their guys on international duties and things like that, right? Which
pretty much full strength, I believe. Yeah.
No, they weren't. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So okay, both teams were full strength. So I mean, just love the quality of it, and seeing these guys putting on a show is great. Yeah. Even with a few minutes left, you thought Illawarra, had this, and Glenn Morrison, this guy, you said he's close to an NBL call-up? Is that true?
He's one of those guys, I think, if they were suddenly to expand and maybe add one or two teams, he'd have to be in the conversation. He's a big unit. He's had some really good years in Canberra. They call him the Brindabella Beacon. He's such a big unit there. He's a strong passer, just a walking double, basically. And, I've got to meet him a couple of times over the years through the commentary. Really nice guy as well. So, I'd love to see him get a go in that next step there. And He was huge in that game, wasn't he? 28 and 14, and he didn't even get finals MVP, so a little bit hard done by him, maybe.
Yep. Oh, very hard done. But yeah, my confusion, obviously, David Hickey's with the Comets on international duty, right? Not Illawarra Hawks. Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Well, he wasn't allowed to play anyway because he hadn't sort of qualified enough games, so that's a story for another day. But shout out to, obviously the comp that I cover there. So, Canberra in the men's and Manly Warringah in the women's. So, great effort for those teams to both win.
And great job, man, this year, by the way, on your calls throughout and then your service to the NBL1 East.
Look, I didn't get the call up for Nationals finals. A little bit disappointed, but I'm just going to keep putting my hand up every year. Keep being one of the most prepared commentators in the business. That's what I sort of pride myself on. I don't have the, the background or the experience that some of these other people may have. I've only been doing it for 4 years, but I'm going to come into every game and be totally prepared. As you know, Woods, with the amount of effort I do in the week. It's not just game day. I spend hours in the week writing up my notes. So,
and good to hear you're taking some good advice from Jack Heverin as well, right?
Yeah, 100%. So we'll finish off with the last two. So we'll go to the Central, Woods, so the South Australian teams. So we saw Sturt versus Woodville in the women's there, and Woodville won 73-65 behind a game high 23 points from grand final MVP Laura Erikstrup. So that was a good effort there. Woodville finished 5th in the regular season, so pretty good to sort of knock off Sturt there. And in the men's, Central Districts versus West Adelaide. So watch a bit of this. This was exciting. So it was West Adelaide winning 83-73 with New Perth Wildcats players Lat Mayan putting up 26-10 and grand final MVP Cam Hoofener having 22, including that video of that dunk that I sent you last night, Woods. He threw a massive baseline dunk down. So he actually signed with Perth as a DP for the next 3 years. So pretty cool that him and Lat Mayan were playing together. And they've got some hardware to take over to Perth there. So Cam Hoofener, Woods. Yeah, that's how you pronounce his name, which is pretty cool. So shout out to West Adelaide winning that one. And then finally, we'll wrap it up in the North. So something funny they do in the North there, Woods, they play a best-of-3 series. So they're the only state competition that does this. So what they do is they play Friday night, Saturday night, and if game 3 is required, Sunday afternoon. So I really like this. I'd love to see a few of the other states get on board with this because, as you know, 3 games is probably a bit more of a, to see who the best team is. Sometimes one game, funny things can happen there. But I'll start off in the women's competition there. So we saw Southern Districts and Logan in this one. So it was first versus second. Both teams only lost one whole game in the regular season. So Logan ended up winning 2-1 after a thriller in overtime in game 3. So Leah Scott was leading the way there with grand final MVP. So shout out to Logan there. Great 3-game series. And lastly, in the men's, Southern Districts won 2-0. So that didn't have to go to that 3rd game and claim their first NBL1 championships, which is pretty cool. So grand final MVP, and here's a blaster in the past for you, Woods. Tamiri Wigness leading the way in both games. So still only 23 years of age, this guy, Woods. So he's showing he probably deserves potentially another shot in the NBL. He was previously with Bullets from Brisbane Bullets from 2020 to 2022. So he was great in the games I watched there and on his way to finals MVP. So yeah, that's all the winners. Congratulations. They'll all be playing at NBL1 Nationals in Canberra at the end of the month, which is going to be really exciting. I think the 2 East teams are going to put up a fight this year. I think the East is probably the most improved conference there. I was looking at some of them. I'm like, I think the East teams will beat the Central teams. I think they could probably beat the North teams. I think South probably still the standout, but East is a chance to be maybe the 2nd or 3rd best conference, which is pretty cool. And as I mentioned earlier, it will be the West Australian NBL1 West finals are on this weekend. So lucky you've got to read and know how these names are pronounced. So in the women's, you've got Coburn taking on Warwick. So it's not Cockburn taking on Warwick. It's definitely Coburn taking on Warwick. And in the men's, we'll see Geraldton also taking on Warwick. So Warwick's the only team that is a chance to maybe get 2 titles there. So we'll wrap that up next week anyway and talk about how the NBL1 West went. That's my NBL1 wrap done.
Awesome, Robbie. Thanks for that.
Now.
All right, let's move on from the NBL1 to the Asia Cup. And I know we're going to talk about Australia winning gold today, the 3-peat, right? But before we do that, let's just touch on the New Zealand team just for a moment, right? Initially, they lost to China in the semi-finals. I mean, making the semi-finals, we expected New Zealand, China, potentially Australia to make the semi-finals. They lost 98-84 to China, which was disappointing. We wanted an Australia-New Zealand final, hopefully.
We did,
right?
yeah.
And what was really surprising is after Iran lost by 44 points to us, right? They ended up beating New Zealand to get the bronze medal 79-73. Now, I know you did watch a bit of this New Zealand game yesterday. A young team, a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Judd Flavel and Pero Cameron and those guys, they would have wanted better from this team, right?
Yeah, I mean, the New Zealand game times, the last two games are a lot more family friendly times. They were the 9 p.m. rather than the 1 or
Yeah.
2 a.m. But got to say, really disappointed in New Zealand's performance there. So they were down big against Lebanon in the quarterfinal, ended up coming back and winning that. Totally outplayed by China. And then, it was a bit of a closer game against Iran there, but got beaten by them. And they're both, Iran and China are well behind New Zealand in the world rankings there. So I think New Zealand's about 20. China and Iran are around sort of late 20s, early 30s there. So you're right. It wasn't like an amazing team they brought, but I thought there was still enough talent on show that they should have probably been in that final there. But, it just shows you in world basketball, anything can happen. Iran are pretty impressive, I've got to say. They're a bit of a sneaky team. They look pretty good in that in the bronze medal game. Not so good against the Boomers, but yeah, shout out to them getting bronze medal.
Yeah, we'll talk about their great point guard in a moment, right? He had a great tournament, but
He did.
before we do that, actually, I think Iran threw in the towel a little bit towards the end of that game to try and save themselves for the bronze medal game. So,
Yeah.
Australia, after as we've already discussed it, let's talk about that semi-final to start off with, 92-48, right?
Yeah.
You've seen contributions all across the board. No one played too many minutes, right? Obviously, with the blowout like that, the point spread is quite good. Will Hickey had a really good game, 14, 5, and 6, all over the place, showing his value on the international stage once again. Any other takeaways from that game?
Look, I think, like you said, it's the depth on that team and being able to give some of these guys a go. Like it wasn't like we came in with a star-studded lineup. You had your ex or fringe NBA guys in Jack White and Jack McVeigh there, and you had some of these up-and-coming guys like David Hickey, you could say there and that. But there was a lot of sort of unknown, unproven players in this. Guys like Foxwell and Harry Wessels and Rain Smith and these sort of guys. And I thought they all shone really well. Sorry, Xavier Cooks is another one I should mention. A fixture of this team there, but I thought they did really well. It was good to see people getting minutes in this game and really good contribution. And I think Adam Caporn did a really good job, coaching this team throughout, I've got to say.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, right? This is first time we've seen him in charge. Obviously, it's been a little bit of it's been a while since we've had a coach for a while. It's been Brett Brown and then Gorgian for a while. So this guy's young. He's going to get this team for an extended period of time and grow with the team as well. How do you see him perform?
I thought he did really well. I thought he called timeouts in good spots there. Look, obviously it's easier when you're getting some big wins there to make some subs and everything like that. But we saw him; he did have to change his game plan a little bit in the final and have a few DMPs for guys and that there. But no, I thought it was a really good first hit out for him, and looking forward to see how he continues with that job. And look, a hard job as well, right? Because they were the overwhelming favourites coming into this. So, imagine we had have lost and that final shot by China had gone down. It would have been what a terrible performance by Australia. But at the end of the day, they've still never lost a game in the Asia Cup, and they're 3-time champs.
Yeah, and tell me about Harry Wessels, like in that semi-final, right? 16 points, 4 boards. There's a Sydney Kings chat going around, and everyone's comparing him to Angus Brown a little bit. Do you see those similarities?
Maybe. I mean, he's a bit bigger than Angus Brown. I mean, I've stood next to him. He's a huge unit there. Someone that probably people don't know a lot about there. He just, he played college at St Mary's there. I probably told the story 5 times that I got to commentate him a few years ago when they played against Hills, and it was his actual first ever game there. I wish him good luck. He's a Perth guy, as pretty much all those Aussies that were playing on that team at that time seemed to be. But yeah, I think he's got a good future there. He's certainly improving. He's got some good hands. He's just a massive unit there, a good offensive rebounder. And yeah, I thought it was a pretty good tournament from him.
Yeah, definitely. And then let's talk about the finals, 90-89. I mean, all the way down to the last shot, right? China had a shot for the game.
Yeah,
so
a pretty decent look at it as well.
Very decent look, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Australians had to work for that victory, and I mean the rest of the tournament went their way. It wasn't until the last game they were really tested.
Yeah.
Good for these young guys to be in a tough situation. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to lie, Woods. I expected a 20-plus point win in this. I actually really did. I thought we might win between 20 and 25, maybe trying to sort of push us a little bit for a quarter or two. But they gave it to us all game. They were probably the surprise team in the tournament coming in. It was a little bit of an unknown there. That was their first loss of the tournament, wasn't it, last night in that game? So, look, it was It was a great effort, definitely a scare there. I've watched that final play. For those that haven't seen it, they got a really good look there. I mean, it would have counted. It definitely would have, if it went in, it would have counted there. So it would have been heartbreaking if we'd lost it in that way. But yeah, like you said, a good experience for some of these younger guys in clutch situation. And it was the veterans that stepped up, though, wasn't it? It was well, I mean, Jalen Galloway, what, a 23-year-old veteran, but it was your old mate Xavier Cooks there.
Yeah.
What a game he had! His absolute game of the tournament.
Yeah, and he was finding ways to attack the basket. His teammates found him in places to succeed. He's doing a little bit of everything. And he is the one of the veterans on this team. 30 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. He's just this.
Did you have that on your bingo card? Xavier Cook's going for 30 in the final? Because I didn't.
No, definitely not. But he got to play. They shortened the rotations. He got to play 31 minutes. Jalen Galloway got to play 36 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, just quickly on China, I mean, talking about over the last 25 years, the development of basketball in that region in China has just been incredible. And we've seen that on show across the women's game and the men's game as well now, right?
I still view them as a bit of a disappointment, Woods, without being harsh. I think for a country that has such a big population that loves the game so much, you know what I mean? They absolutely love the game. And I really expected a bit more improvement over the years than what we've seen. Maybe sort of more guys, playing in the pros and that. But maybe this is the start of something. You said the women's program definitely. Maybe the start of something for the men's program.
I totally agree with you, man. The whole Yao Ming. I was talking to a friend today. There's basketball before and after Yao Ming in China, right? So you thought after Yao Ming, Houston Rockets, that period in the early noughties, we would have seen a lot more progression in the men's 100%. Game by this time, and we haven't. But as you said, this is extremely heartwarming, and I know a lot of people tuned into that game yesterday around the country, right? Woke up in the morning and then watched that game. And just quickly on the Jalen Galloway. Okay, so Jalen Galloway finished as the MVP of the league.
Thoroughly deserved too.
Thoroughly deserved. Just a few stats. He finished with 23 points on 6'10" beyond the arc, alongside 5 rebounds. And he came through with some important buckets in the fourth quarter, as you would have seen. He finished the event with averages of 14.2 points per game, shooting 67% from the field, man. From 3 point land, man.
It felt like 100%, didn't it? He did not miss the whole tournament. That's a crazy percentage there.
66.7% from 3, right?
Yeah.
And Galloway headlined the All-Star 5, which also included his teammate Jack McVay. I mean, Jack McVay had some really strong games early on in the tournament, right? His average was similar, around 13.5, 14 points a game as well.
Yeah.
And the towering front court tandem of Hu Jingqiu and Wang Junji of China, and point guard Sina Vahede of bronze medalist in Iran. And this floor general, he was fun to watch, man.
Solid,
right?
Wasn't he? I was actually thinking, I wonder if New Zealand had have won that game, whether Flynn Cameron maybe have got that 5th spot there. But they like to give it for the teams that win the medals. And shout out to the point guard there. He
had 17 points, 4-5 assists, and you just knew that Iran wasn't going anywhere without him, man. And he was an entertaining guy to watch.
Hey, shout out to the Iran coach as well. He basically did a coach's challenge late in that game yesterday and called for an unsportsmanlike foul. I don't know if you saw that. They weren't calling that originally, sort of thing. It ended up being an unsportsmanlike foul. They had shots and possession there. That was a really good call by him to see that, and then the refs ended up overturning the call.
Yeah, I did see that. A question: a guy like that, Vahede, could he play as an Asian player in the NBL? Right?
Yeah, 100% could. Yeah, that's what the rule says. So yeah, why not? He's probably getting some decent money in Europe already. But yeah, it'd be great to see some more Asians playing in that local sort of rule that we can have here up.
Yeah, because I mean we've had Amritpal Singh, we've had Hung Jung Lee.
And a couple of Chinese guys like we had Southeast Melbourne one, and then the massive one from Brisbane there.
There's a big zoo.
Yeah.
And the other guy,
it'd be nice to see more for sure.
For sure. Okay, but overall, Asia Cup, enjoyed it. Good to get some basketball back and see some of these young guys get some experience out there.
It was good to get some games back, right? We sort of had that, no NBL, no NBA, as much as NBL1 was still going. It was cool to sort of, see that and see some new guys in that Aussie, Boomers jersey there. So I actually enjoyed all the games. It's a shame, obviously, those big Boomers games weren't the most friendly times. It's a bit hard to get up at that time of the night sort of thing, but hey, we still watched them, and congratulations to the Boomers.
Yeah, congratulations to the Boomers. And also I just want to mention some of those vets, they contributed still. You saw good contributions from Magne and Jack White and guys like that across the tournament. I mean, not Yeah, Jack White as well. Yeah, Jack White.
Jack McVeigh probably wasn't far off making that All-Star 5 as well. He had a couple of big games. He
No,
probably
no, he
made
did.
it.
He made it.
In the second team, was it? Or
No, he made the first team. There's
he
only
did make
one
the first.
All-Star 5, right?
Yeah, okay.
It was the two Chinese guys, the two Aussie guys,
gotcha.
and then the Iranian, right?
Yeah, sure.
But Jack White and Will Magnay, some of those veterans also contributed throughout the tournament and just played their role perfectly. So shout out to them as well. To help some of the young guys along, it's good to have those vets on the roster, right? Okay, moving on. We were gonna, as mentioned earlier, we're gonna preview the Adelaide 36ers today, Robbie. So I'm just gonna bring up the Adelaide slide quickly, and if you
gonna make me say that guy's name?
I can try and bail you out, man. But yeah, can you see that slide in front of you?
Actually, how about before I read out the roster, Woods, can you just read the first name there and I'll continue after that? So who's that first player that's incoming for Adelaide?
Bryce Cotton.
Okay, all right, thanks for that. So after that, we've got Deng Miyang, Flynn Cameron, Isaac White, Magok Miyang. Manyang, sorry. Matty Kenyon, Michael Harris, and Zylan Sheatham there. So look, that is basically a new team there. Some, I guess the outs that sort of we talk about then, Jason Kadee retired, Kendrick Davis gone to your Kings, Lat Main has gone to Perth, Nick Marshall's gone, and Sunday Detch to Perth also. So look, it's essentially a new team there, isn't it? We're looking at a potential starting 5 of Cotton, DJ Vasiljevic, Flynn Cameron, Zylan Sheatham and Isaac Humphrey. So let's not forget Isaac Humphrey, still a really, really good big man in this league. I think Isaac White will add some, extra stuff there. We've got Rasmussen on the bench. You've got Michael Harris, who, fell out of the rotation a bit in Perth, but can still play. And that big man rotation there, you've got Zylan Sheatham, Montrezl Harrell, Humphreys. I mean, there's some big guys on that team.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, Robbie, I think that I went with, you look at that starting lineup there, I put Humphreys starting at the center position. Obviously, that's interchangeable. Now, what do you think of that bench? You had Isaac White coming in, as you said, Harris, Matty Kenyon, defensive-minded.
I'm going to say, if I have to pick one there, Woods, I really like Isaac White. He's having a great season. I think he's went for 38 points in the semi-final in the NBL1 West playing over there. Really like him. I think he's a good two-way player. He's definitely going to get some minutes there. Maybe I'll start off with my one concern, though, Woods. There's some great big men on this team, right? There's also some good guards, but they are a small backcourt, right? For me, I'm not even sure that Flynn Cameron's a small forward. To me, he's more of a combo guard there. I think that's maybe stretching a bit to expect him to play small forward. So I don't know. Could they maybe play Zylan Sheatham at the 3 and play Montrezl 4? Because
I don't think so.
I think he can stretch the floor a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised in some lineups if they do it, because that's a pretty short backcourt, right? You're talking Bryce Cotton, who's barely 6'1", DJ Vasiljevic, who isn't much bigger there. That's a tiny backcourt. So can you afford to play a 6'5" guy that's probably a guard at 3 there? So I think we could see a little bit of that lineup where you play the 2 Americans at the 4 and 3, and then Isaac Humphreys. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think maybe Harold would probably play the 3 and Sheatham at the 4. He's small, 6'11", we saw Harold move to the 3 a little bit last season as well, right? So I think it's more than likely we'll see that. But, they can't start. Someone's got to come off the bench. So I think maybe Harold might be the guy to come off the bench. I thought about this.
Have you told him that yet? Or?
Yeah, I mean, the other option is Cheatham and Harold start and Humphreys comes off the bench. But I think you need to get Humphreys going early, get him some touches early in the offense, get him motivated, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that penny falls. Yes, you're right. The size is a concern there. But it's also the defensive capabilities of this team, right? Matt Kenyon comes in with that defensive mindset, right? But you look down this roster, there's no one here who stands out as a
Well, Isaac White, I'd put him as an elite defender.
Yeah, I mean he's solid. He can be a pest on defense, right? And he's gonna give you offense as well. He's not there to defend anyone. He's gonna come and have a green light to take some shots off the bench, right? But I guess in this team he's gonna have there's only one ball going around. There's a lot of scoring there, right? So he's gonna have to come in and do whatever the team needs him to do, right? To earn his minutes, right?
What about these 2 Manyangs, these brothers? What can you tell me about them? Both DPs.
Not much, man, but obviously they've earned this opportunity. The brothers playing together. I think, I mean, you can invest in these young Chinese talent, and we've seen it take ball clubs places, right? Guys like Bull Cole, Lat Main, pretty much pulled out of nowhere, and look at them now. So
Do you think the name Deng in South Sudan is basically like our John? Do you think
Yeah,
so?
it's like
It'd have to
Ravi.
be,
It's
right?
like Ravi in Indian as well.
Yeah,
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 right.
very common
So
name.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm worried about the depth there then. So you've got
yeah, a
White,
little bit. Yeah.
Harris, Kenyon, and Keanu Rasmussen's gonna play.
Mm.
Man, like yeah,
And
it's
Vasiljevic has had a few injuries over the years too, hasn't he? At various times. I think he's been pretty healthy the last year or two. But yeah, look, say if one of those guys was to go down, and we obviously don't want to wish that on anyone. You're really testing the depth with is Michael Harris someone you can rely on to play 20 minutes a game after barely playing last year.
probably not.
Rasmussen's still pretty young, yeah. So it's there's some question marks there, yeah.
Definitely. I'm gonna just read you a quote. Now, during the week, Zylan Cheatham, your boy, caught up with Pete Hooley on the NBL Now podcast. So I'm just gonna read a couple of quotes to you, and I want you to get your thoughts. I want you guys to think we are the best team in the league because I do. New recruit Zylan Cheatham said on NBL Now. You see the type of guys that are signing here now, and it's like this is where I want to be. I want all that smoke, he said.
Mm. Yeah, but he's a supremely confident player, isn't he? He had some really good games playing with New Zealand 2 years ago. He did have a couple of injuries that sort of cut his season short, and they had a lot of injuries in general on that team. But I think he's hungry. I think he was in Japan last year, right? In that B league that people think is the second league, but it's actually their basketball
Sure.
league.
Yeah.
As you know, I like to joke about that. But I think he'll be hungry to be back in the NBL there. An English-speaking country, a country that's sort of probably got a lot more eyes on it than that Japanese B League does. Let's be honest there. And he spoke on that podcast. I did enjoy listening to him there. How about how much respect he had for that Adelaide crowd. He noticed that there as a New Zealand player there, how knowledgeable and how much this crowd was still cheering their team even towards the end of the season where things weren't going great for him there. So I think he's in for a really big year. I think him and Harold got a relationship as well. So I think that probably helped to get him over here. So yeah, let's hope he's healthy, but he could put up some really big numbers this season.
Oh, absolutely. And this is one of the strongest at the top end teams ever
Oh,
assembled in NBL history at
it
the
really
top
is.
end, right?
Yeah,
Now let's see if Coach Mike Wells just plays a lot of these guys because
it feels
without as
that way,
much
doesn't it?
depth, a
Yeah.
lot of these guys probably need to play extended minutes, right? So
And we know Bryce Cotton's good for that, right? He's always played extended minutes, but maybe a couple more thoughts from me on this one, Wood. So
yep.
they're definitely probably the most intriguing team I think we're gonna preview coming into this season. They still finished sixth last year, which is pretty solid, even though they had a 13-16 record. So they did technically make the play in there, didn't they? Even though they were 3 games under 500. But look, they've gone out and recruited as good as we've seen a team in a number of years there. They've got the checkbook open in a big way there, and yeah, I'm really excited. I think it may take them a little while for guys to click and maybe to find their roles on this team, right? But I think, once they do, man, they're going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah, I agree. And on that note, then I want to ask you to give me an exact finish, but on the ladder, you want to give me an approximate
Yeah, I haven't got quite the numbers of wins. I think they're top
top.
three. Top
Okay,
three for
top
me,
three.
yeah.
Yep, yep,
The
yep.
guy that I'm still not going to say his name on this episode, I will maybe from the next week there, but I think he's going to have an amazing season. Jesus, it's going to be tough for a massive Wildcats fan like me to see him in that Adelaide jersey there. But yeah, I think top three. I think absolutely. I think anything less than top three would maybe be a bit of a disappointment with the financial investment they've got on this team and the names they've got on this team. So yeah, they're going to be must watch. I'm sort of looking forward to watch all their games. I'll probably watch them as closely as I watch my own Wildcats. I would have thought this year.
Yeah, as you said, like not only the people in Adelaide, it's not going to be the hottest ticket, not only going to be the hottest ticket in town, it's also going to be the hottest appointment to sit
Yeah,
down in front of your TV and watch if you're free that night.
absolutely.
So can't wait. On that, a lot of intriguing prospects to pick in your NBL Supercoach team here. So there's only one ball going around. A lot of guys who want to put it in the hole, right? So
Yeah.
talk to me, man. Who is your
For
stud?
the fantasy start, I've got to say the former Perth Wildcats 5-time MVP there. I think he's going to probably be the most expensive player in fantasy, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed. He puts up massive numbers. He still has some of those quiet games. You're like, oh, is he slipping a bit? And then he'll go for 3 weeks in a row where he gets 40 plus. So yeah, the former Perth Wildcats player for the fantasy stud for me, Woods. And for the sleeper, I mentioned his name a couple of times this one, but I'm going to say Isaac White. I think he could get some minutes in this backcourt here, and I think he could come out and get some defensive sort of hustle stats, put up some quick points in a hurry there. So I think you could probably do worse in a sleeper than Isaac White. What about yourself?
Yeah, okay, let's start with the sleeper then while you just mentioned your sleeper. I
Yeah,
went with Matt Kenyon, right? Because I just think he's a
because you
glue
like his
guy.
hair.
Love his hair, and he's a
Okay.
bit of a glue guy, right? And I think that
Mm,
he's gonna have more of a role than he thinks because he can fit into a few different positions. He can play anywhere from the 2 to the 4, and for him to play in those weird lineups that you suggested, he might just be able to create an ability for them guys to fit around him, right? Easier. So you might see him in the 20-30 minutes. So just on that, he might get a steal here and there, a few points. So I've got him as the sleeper.
Yeah, it's a decent one. Yeah.
Right. And then in terms of stud, right? Bryce Cotton. And the reason I say that is last year he had some offensive talent around him, but never has he had this kind of talent around him, right? If teams send double teams his way, he's got teammates he can find. You're going to see a nice hike in those assist numbers. He's going to be the starting one in this lineup, right?
Will they have him in fantasy as a one? Because that's always been my gripe over the last few years. As much as he has the ball in his hands more than anyone, he's always just listed as a shooting guard, wasn't he, in the last few years? So maybe they change that this year.
I mean, you could have a Ty or a Damian Martin or whoever next to him as an excuse. That's the point guard on the team, right? Yeah. Now there's no excuse. He has to be. Maybe we'll have a chat to the super coach boys. And then.
Hey, what was your prediction? Did you give us a top? Where you think I'll finish as well?
Same as you. I haven't broken it down yet. At the end, when we do our season preview, let's do it. I was saying top 2 actually.
Top 2, yeah. With Sydney?
Yes. With Sydney. Sydney.
Yeah, no, probably fair. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Robbie.
No, that was fun. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing this team this year, as I mentioned a few times, and enjoying these previews. Well, who are we doing next week?
So we will have a special guest on next week. Yes, I think we will. Yes.
Okay.
And we will do Tasmania and New Zealand. Right?
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. In fact, we'll have special guests on for all the previews up till the end now. So,
okay. A couple of special guests on the way.
Definitely. So yeah, watch this space. All right. So shall we do some true or false?
Let's do it.
All right. Let's go. Okay. The Pavlos Giannakopoulos tournament has been an absolute farce. And I don't know if you've seen the press release come out recently, but all the games have been cancelled on the Monday now, and attendees, the few attendees that there were on that Monday, have been asked if they want to come on the Sunday instead, or they want to have a refund on their tickets. So talk to me, man.
Well, my answer is true. I believe it is. And look, we're the sort of guys, Woods, we're very positive guys. We love our game. We always try and, grow this game and get people talking about the NBL. I think it's been pretty clear that there just wasn't the appetite for this tournament coming here. People don't follow the EuroLeague maybe as much as people thought they were. I've never seen an event where every time I log on to something, Ticketek were like, right, it's buy one, get one free. It's now 70% off. It's, this, it's that. They were clearly struggling with ticket sales big time, right? They were linking it into every part of their app or website where you go, and there were a little pop-up thing you had to close to see that these games are coming out there and marking it, that Kendrick Nunn and these sort of guys were coming here. I said all along, didn't I? It didn't really excite me much. Maybe that might have surprised a few people knowing how much I love the game. But yeah, I think it has been. I think it's been pretty poor with what's going on. And you're sort of thinking maybe it was ticket sales as much as other reasons why they're not playing these Monday games.
Yeah. So firstly, I wish I could go back to an episode maybe 6 months ago, and I said, true or false, Robbie, you'll be coming with me to the Giannis tournament, and you're like, false, Woods, I'm not coming to that, right? And you spoke about it.
I did say that.
Exactly this. So you're right. But yeah, they've said to us like a week, a few weeks before it's cancelled because EuroLeague starts on the 30th of September. Surely, then why can they play the night before, right?
Yeah.
It seems a bit
what's
fishy.
one extra night going to do? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And then
Monday night, probably not the best night for people to want to go and see basketball, right?
And you're saying they're basically giving away the tickets for free the week before it was cancelled. It just it smells like it was just no one wants to see like empty stadiums play in front of these
100%.
these guys to play in front of empty stadiums, right? So
yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Robbie. All right. So we just talked about the FIBA Asia Cup, and while we're on the topic of crowds, we could have seen a better turnout over in Saudi Arabia for the tournament, right? Agree?
Yeah. 100%.
Okay. So with that in mind, Sydney Olympic Park would be a fantastic venue for the next edition of the FIBA Men's Asia Cup.
Yeah, well, look, we went to the women's, a couple of years ago, and it was very well supported there. I think we were both shocked about how loud the Chinese fans were at that game we went to. They were next level there, but I reckon it could work here. You've got a lot of nationalities. You look at Sydney as a place, you've got a big Chinese population, you've got a huge Filipino population, you've got a Japanese population. So I think these countries, and then some of these other countries, like Iran and Syria and other sort of countries like that you may not think about, but they would have some pretty good support here as well. Very multicultural city, as we know there would. So I think it would absolutely work. And I'd certainly be very keen if they got it here to attend several games. I'd be a lot more excited about this than I would be for this Euro Cup thing that we're talking about before.
Yeah, definitely. They've done the FIBA Women's here, right? So
that was all we went to a few years ago.
Yeah. Of course, that was it. That was it. Yeah, cool. So next one. Thanks for that, Robbie. Christian Doolittle could make an all NBL team this season.
Well, look, I think it'll certainly be very close, Woods. Although saying that, there are some absolute stud big men in the NBL this season. So I'd love him to make it, but I'm probably going to put the anti-Perth Homer hat on and say false. I do hope I'm wrong with that one. I think he'll be thereabouts there, but I don't think he'll make an all-NBL team this season. What are your thoughts?
I think he will. I think he's going to be a stud for Perth. Sure. He's going to be the go-to guy. We saw the kind of production he was putting up towards the end of last season in the playoffs, having multiple 25-plus point games, and just had more confidence to be aggressive. And with Bryce gone, I think he's going to be a go-to guy there. So I'm going to say true, right?
Okay, hopefully you're right.
Okay. All right. It's a good one. Our two great buddies, Matt and Mookie, did a fantastic job of calling the NBL1 East Finals.
Absolutely true. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see them both there. I know we're both really proud of him. Absolute great guys. Guys, we're going to get on the podcast again very soon. It was great to hear them. They're the Inner West Bulls commentators this year, and look, it was well deserved that they got that call up there. Hopefully, I get a chance one day. But look, these are guys that have been doing it a long time, and not only did they do a great job, Woods, they also had a great game to cover there, and they kept it exciting and interesting, and they really called the game well. So it's a big true for me on that one.
Yeah, and Matt sent me a text going, Woods, we got the job to do the final basically, so it's awesome. I've got the appointment to tune in and watch the boys. And I think one thing that you notice is they've been doing this together for so long, right? And they just know they bounce off each other, and they're a pleasure to listen to. So it's awesome. Well done, boys, and yeah, great to see.
Absolutely.
All right, Robbie. All right, why don't you take us out? Some final thoughts in terms of where we can be found and followed and all of that jazz. Yeah.
Sounds good. So, yeah, we can be, as we always say, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your audio podcasts. Can be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. Woods, I know you'll get the Jason Thompson jersey in. Let's get this beautiful Mark Davis card up there last week. What a great card that is, right? I bet you wouldn't mind one of those in your collection, right? So there's only 98 other ones available, given this is one of 99. So hopefully we can find you one. So also Instagram, and our email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Patreon, if you want to pledge a couple of dollars for us to support us with our production and the costs that are associated with maintaining this podcast, we'd be really grateful for that as well.
Thanks, Robbie. I guess as mentioned, we'll have some guests on to do our team previews over the coming weeks, which is going to be great. Look out for that. Any final thoughts?
Well, the NBA schedule, I know we haven't really talked any NBA this episode, but the NBA schedule came out last week, and we're about 2 months away, Wood, so that's going to fly. Like, it's not long now. NBL Blitz is in, less than 2 weeks now. Before you know it, we'll be doing NBA season previews. Can't wait for that. It's the best time of year coming up. And, yeah, a couple of, low weeks coming up with nothing now, but, now NBL 1's finished, no international stuff, but bring on the NBL and the NBA.
Exactly. Can't wait, Robbie. So from Robbie and I and the team at TBH, until next week, it's peace out.